couldn't believe what I was seeing. There she was, standing in the middle of my cornfield, yanking ripe ears of sweet corn out of the stalks like she owned the place. The morning dew hadn't even dried off the leaves, and the sun hadn't been up more than an hour. But there she stood, Karen Harwood, president of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association, wearing her neon pink windbreaker and a smug smile. And next to her, a teenage boy, her son Travis, shoving freshly picked corn into a laundry basket like it was just another Saturday chore. I slowed my truck to a stop, right there at the edge of the field. The gravel crunched beneath my tires. I stepped out, boots hitting dirt, heart pounding. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I shouted. Karen didn't flinch. She didn't even try to hide it. She turned to me with that artificial innocence, eyebrows high, hand shading her eyes like she couldn't quite believe I was upset. "Oh, relax, Joel," she said. "It's just a few ears. Travis has a school project, and we needed some organic produce." "From my land?" I snapped. "That's my corn, Karen. You're trespassing." That's when her face changed. Her smile dropped, and the lines in her forehead deepened. She straightened up, walked toward me like she was the victim in all this. "Don't be ridiculous," she said, waving her hand. "It's not like you're even using this part of the field. Half of it's overgrown. You can spare a few crops for a struggling single mom." I was stunned. My fists clenched, but I kept my voice calm. "You have no right to be here. You need to leave. Now." Karen crossed her arms, glancing at Travis, who suddenly looked a lot more nervous. "Well," she said, "if you're going to act like this, I'm calling the cops." I blinked. "You're calling the cops? On me?" She pulled out her phone. "You're threatening me," she said loud enough for her son to hear. "And my child. This is harassment. I have every right to protect myself." Before I could stop her, she dialed 911. And I stood there, on my own land, watching a woman who'd just stolen from me call the police like I was the criminal. A week earlier, none of this had even seemed possible. I moved back to my hometown in Texas after my dad passed away. He left me the ranch, 10 acres of dusty soil, a rundown farmhouse, and enough corn and tomatoes to run a humble roadside stand. I wasn't looking to get rich, just wanted peace. A simpler life after working 15 years in Dallas as a mechanic. The land was a legacy. My granddad built the barn himself in 1958. My mom used to can peaches out here every summer. It wasn't just dirt, it was family. But moving back also meant dealing with Oak Ridge. The town had changed. There were now gated neighborhoods, golf carts, and Karen Harwood. She ran the HOA like she was queen of the suburbs. She lived 3 houses down from my property. We shared a fence, and that woman had made it her mission to control everything that touched her perfect patch of green grass. "You can't hang your laundry outside. It's an eyesore." "Your rooster woke up my Travis. I'm filing a noise complaint." "The shed you're building isn't HOA compliant." Every week it was something new. But I kept my head down. I dealt with worse. Until now, it had just been annoying. But now, she crossed a line. The truth is, Karen hated me. Not just because I ignored her rules, but because my place reminded her she couldn't control everything. Her life was all about appearances. She had the smile, the PTA badges, the neighborhood watch walkie-talkie. But I could see through it. She was struggling. Her ex-husband had stopped paying child support. She told the whole block he'd gone off-grid. Her front yard stayed spotless, but I saw her hauling groceries from the dollar store. And her son, Travis? He was always trying to prove something, wearing Air Jordans his mom couldn't afford, talking big about a future in tech, even though his grades were slipping. That school project she mentioned, organic agriculture? It wasn't even for a grade. It was an Instagram stunt. I saw it the day before on his feed. "Gonna show how local farms are low-key fire," he posted, then tagged it number borrow don't buy. Borrow. They didn't even think they were stealing. I watched her on the phone with 911, voice rising. "Yes," he's yelling. "I feel unsafe. He has tools in his truck. I don't know if he's armed." I took 2 slow steps back and raised my hands. Not because I was guilty, but because I've seen what happens when things go sideways. I wasn't about to let this woman twist the story. The dispatcher was probably already sending someone out. "Karen," I said calmly, "hang up the phone. Let's just talk like adults." But she wasn't interested in talking. She was performing. Travis looked embarrassed now. He kept glancing between his mom and me. I could see it. This wasn't how he thought it would go. He mumbled, "Mom, maybe we should go." Karen ignored him. She looked like she was winning, like she'd finally found the one move that could get rid of the messy ranch guy next door. But what she didn't know was that I'd already installed trail cams, high definition, motion triggered, with audio. And that morning, it was all caught on tape. By the time the sheriff's deputy rolled up the gravel drive, the sun had fully cleared the horizon. The shadows of the corn stalks stretched long across the ground, and Karen was standing right in the middle of them like some righteous statue, arms folded, sunglasses on, pretending she hadn't just stolen from me. I stood calmly by my truck, hands still visible, heart pounding like a war drum. I'd been in situations before where things could spiral fast, especially when the wrong story got told first. The deputy stepped out. Deputy Allen, tall, gray mustache, and about 10 years past retirement if you asked me. He took one look at Karen and then turned his eyes to me. "Mr. Bennett," he said. "That's me," I nodded. "She's trespassing. Took food off my land. It's all on my trail cams." Karen immediately stepped forward like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. "Don't listen to him, officer. He was yelling at me, threatening me and my son. We feared for our safety. He was aggressive. He has tools in his truck." I gave a half laugh. "I'm a rancher. Of course I've got tools. That doesn't make me a criminal." Allen lifted a hand. "Let's all slow down. Ms. Harwood, you said he was threatening you?" "Yes, verbally." My son was scared. "Look at him." She motioned to Travis, who was now standing awkwardly behind the laundry basket, arms crossed, head low. He looked like he wanted to disappear into the corn. Allen turned to me. "Any weapons?" "Nope," I said. "Just my pocket knife. And this." I reached slowly into the glove box and pulled out a small SD card. Trail cam footage. Motion activated. Caught the whole thing. Karen's lips parted. She hadn't expected that. Allen raised an eyebrow, took the card, and slid it into his squad car's dash camera system. He sat there for a few minutes, the silence between us growing louder with every second. Karen looked at her son. Travis looked at the ground. I looked at the fence line and thought about how badly this woman had underestimated me. When Allen stepped out again, his face was unreadable. "Well," he said slowly, "I've got you on camera, Ms. Harwood, walking into his field, taking corn without permission. Your son, too. I heard your conversation. He asked you if it was okay, and you said, and I quote, 'Don't worry, Joel's too soft to do anything.'" Karen's face went red. "That's taken out of context." "No," Allen said firmly. "That's evidence." Karen stumbled over her words, searching for something, anything, to spin this around. I thought it was community land," she stammered. "I mean, it looks abandoned, and he hasn't even mowed the edges." My jaw tightened. "That doesn't make it yours." Allen looked at me. "You want to press charges?" The question hung in the air like a loaded shotgun. I looked at Karen, who still wouldn't meet my eyes. Travis, for all his bravado online, looked humiliated. I didn't want to ruin the kid. He wasn't the mastermind here. But I also wasn't about to let this slide. Not this time. I don't want to throw a kid in legal trouble, I said finally. But I want her fined. Officially. And I want a no trespass order. This isn't the first time she's harassed me. Karen's jaw dropped. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious, I said. And don't come near my fence again. Alan nodded. All right. That's fair. I'll file the paperwork and write her up for misdemeanor theft. You'll get your copy by next week. Karen didn't say a word. Not a single one. She gathered the basket, yanked Travis by the arm, and stomped off toward her SUV parked at the edge of the block. I watched her wheels kick up dust as she peeled out of my driveway, leaving behind nothing but tire tracks and a whole lot of bad energy. I should have felt satisfied, and in a way, I did. But I also knew Karen. This wouldn't be the end. Not for her. People like that, entitled, manipulative, obsessed with power. They don't back down. They just change tactics. As I walked the row she'd raided, I noticed some of the stalks were trampled. She hadn't even tried to be careful. The ground was littered with snapped stems and broken roots, reminders of how easy it is for someone to destroy something they didn't help build. Back in the house, I loaded the trail cam footage onto my laptop. I saved 2 copies. One on a hard drive, one in the cloud. I wasn't taking chances. An hour later, I got a text. Unknown number. This isn't over. You'll regret embarrassing me. K. I stared at the screen. Karen had just been caught stealing, publicly humiliated, and written up by the sheriff. And still, she thought I was the one who should be afraid. But here's the thing she didn't know. You can threaten me. You can lie. You can send warnings. But when you pick a fight on my land, with my name, I don't run. I plant roots. And this time, I was ready to fight back. The first sign of trouble came 3 days later, an envelope taped to my mailbox. No stamp, no return address, just my name in big block letters. JOELBENNETT. Inside was a typed letter, printed in bold. Notice of violation. Unauthorized agricultural activity in a residential buffer zone. Issued by Oak Ridge Homeowners Association. I nearly laughed out loud. The letter was accusing me, of running a commercial farming operation, too close to HOA-protected residential boundaries. It claimed I was in violation of zoning ordinances, that I was creating excessive noise, odors, and visual disturbances, and that if I didn't cease activity and dismantle non-compliant structures, I'd be subject to fines up to $500 a day. The woman had declared war. I marched right into my office, snapped a photo of the letter, and called my friend Melissa. She was a local zoning officer and my classmate back in high school. "Hey Mel," I said, holding back frustration. "Tell me this isn't legit." After a short laugh and a few keyboard clicks on her end, she confirmed it. The HOA had zero jurisdiction over my ranch. "Joel," she said, "you're outside their mapped boundary. Your land's been zoned agricultural since before the subdivision even existed. Their rules stop at the creek. Can they do anything at all?" Number. "But if they try to escalate it, let me know. I've dealt with Karen before." I thanked her, hung up, and leaned back in my chair. So that was her new plan. Use paperwork, bureaucracy, the slow grind of red tape to wear me down. And for a moment, I almost admired the strategy. Almost. Later that evening, I stopped by the feed store to pick up fencing wire. That's where I ran into Dan, one of the old-timers in town, and the unofficial gossip mill. The second he saw me, he let out a whistle. "Joel, my man, you done poked the HOA hornet's nest, huh?" "What did you hear now?" I asked, already exhausted. Dan chuckled and leaned on the counter. Karen's been walking door to door, handing out flyers, claims you assaulted her and that your agricultural activity is a threat to neighborhood safety. Says you've got illegal chemicals on your property. I blinked. What chemicals? No idea, he said. But she's spinning a tale so good she might get nominated for mayor. I sighed. She's trying to destroy my name. Dan nodded. And people are listening, especially the new folks. You know, the ones who think chickens come from Whole Foods. When I got home, there were 3 new messages on my machine. One was from a neighbor asking if I really had hazardous waste on the property. Another was from a woman I didn't even know, asking me to take my farm smells elsewhere. The third was from Travis. Hey, Mr. Bennett, this is Travis Harwood. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for what happened. My mom, she's just been stressed. I didn't mean for any of this. I'll pay you back for the corn, I swear. The message cut off there. I sat in silence for a moment. That kid was in over his head. And for all the anger I had toward Karen, I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. It's hard to be decent when the person raising you teaches you the opposite. But pity wasn't going to stop this storm. The next morning, it got worse. I walked out to the mailbox and found 3 identical letters, copies of the same HOA violation, now mailed to every property that bordered mine. She wanted to turn the whole block against me. But the final blow wasn't in the mailbox. It came from a man in a suit. He pulled up in a black Mercedes, parked right at the gate, and stepped out holding a clipboard. Mr. Bennett? He asked. Yeah. Who's asking? My name is David Royce. I'm a legal representative for the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association. I've been retained to explore legal avenues for resolution. I stared at him. Resolution for what? For the discomfort, distress, and property value concerns raised by your current land use. I'm here to inform you that Karen Harwood has filed an official motion with the HOA board. If it passes, they'll pursue a county petition to have your land reviewed for rezoning. Rezoning? I repeated. My family's owned this land for 3 generations. He offered a tight, polite smile. And that history is admirable. But neighborhoods evolve. The HOA feels your ranch is incompatible with the area's direction. Something inside me snapped. You tell Karen, I said slowly, that this land has survived droughts, storms, and wildfires. It'll survive her, too. He paused. You might want to consider negotiating. It could get expensive. I stepped forward until I was nearly nose to nose with him. I've already got the sheriff on record, trail cam footage, witnesses, and the full support of the zoning board. If she wants to waste money dragging this through court, fine. I'll see her there. But this isn't a fight she's going to win. David Royce studied my face for a long moment, then nodded once. Understood. He got back in his car and drove off. That night, I sat on the porch, the sun sinking behind the hills. The cornfield shimmered in the fading light, and for a second, I let myself breathe. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Karen had fired every shot she could think of, and yet something told me this wasn't just about corn. It was about power. And when people like her feel it slipping, they go nuclear. It all came to a head 2 weeks later, on a hot Friday afternoon, when the air felt heavy with something about to snap. I was out in the field checking the irrigation line when I saw them. 3 black SUVs pulling up along the gravel, one after the other like a convoy. For a second, I thought the HOA had really gone over the edge and hired private security. But then I saw the seal on the doors. Channel 9 News. Karen had finally gone and done it. Within minutes, a woman in a blazer was standing by my fence with a cameraman, rehearsing her lines. I walked up calmly, sweat still dripping down my neck from the Texas sun. You hear about the ranch? I asked, wiping my hands. The reporter turned and smiled like a game show host. Yes, we've been contacted by several residents of the Oak Ridge community about a dispute involving zoning, environmental hazards, and a local homeowner named Karen Harwood. Would you be willing to give a statement? I grinned. Oh, I've got more than a statement. I brought them inside, offered water, and sat them down in front of my computer. Then I pulled up the footage, the original trail cam video of Karen stealing the corn, the audio where she told Travis, "Joel's too soft to stop me," and the 911 call where she falsely claimed I was threatening her. The reporter's eyebrows shot up. "You have all of this documented?" "Every second," I said, "plus the letter the HOA left on my mailbox, and a copy of the zoning maps proving I'm not under their jurisdiction. I've got statements from neighbors, even a voicemail from her son apologizing." The reporter looked stunned. "Would you mind if we use this on air?" I leaned back. "Be my guest." The story aired that same night. Rancher targeted by HOO president. Local man fights back with evidence. It went viral before I even finished dinner. Karen was caught on camera, not just trespassing and stealing, but lying, manipulating, and trying to destroy a man's reputation, all to protect her pride. The footage was raw and undeniable. The public ate it up. By Monday morning, the Oak Ridge HOA board held an emergency meeting. Karen didn't even show up, but Travis did, and what he said floored everyone. I was there. I knew it was wrong, but I went along with it because I didn't want to disappoint my mom. She said we needed the corn, but it was never about the corn. She just hated that Mr. Bennett wasn't afraid of her. The board voted 6-1 to remove Karen as president of the HOA, effective immediately. But the real justice didn't come until a week later. I got a call from Melissa, the zoning officer, who said she'd gotten wind of Karen filing a false environmental complaint to the county, trying to get me cited for hazardous runoff that didn't exist. That, combined with the public backlash, opened an official investigation. Turns out Karen had forged more than just flyers. She'd submitted fake, community signatures, written under fake names, hoping to get a petition passed to shut down my ranch. She'd committed fraud. They served her with a subpoena at her front door, right there in front of 3 neighbors and a barking chihuahua. Now, I'm not the kind of man who celebrates another person's downfall. I've had my own hard seasons. I know what it's like to make mistakes. But Karen didn't just make a mistake. She made it her mission to ruin me. And in trying to burn my house down, she set fire to her own. Her social life? Gone. Her role in the PTA? Voted out. Her job at the real estate office? Terminated. Last I heard, she was selling essential oils on Facebook and trying to rebuild her image by claiming she was the real victim of toxic small-town politics. But folks weren't buying it anymore. Not after they saw who she really was. As for me, I expanded the cornfield, put up new fencing, stronger, taller, with solar-powered trail cams every 100 feet. Travis came by once in October, asked if he could volunteer on weekends, said he wanted to learn how to grow something real. I let him, not out of pity, but because the boy needed a role model who wasn't fueled by pride and fear. One afternoon, while we were stacking bales of hay, he looked up at me and said, "She still doesn't get it, you know. She still thinks you tricked everyone." I just smiled. Some folks learn by watching, some by losing, and some never learn at all. There's a saying my granddad used to tell me, "Let a snake show its head, but don't go stepping in its nest. Just build a stronger fence." Well, I built my fence, and this time, the snake slithered away for good.